presento Gianfilippo
Mancini, CEO of Sorgenia. Welcome. Hello. I'll let you talk to you with Mancini, bringing us good news. Oh, I thought I was the good news. That's the good news. That's true. Him being here, that's true. But let's talk about energy. Lately, we haven't had like so many good news, but hopefully we have some new stimuli, some new opportunities. So, okay, thank you. Well, it's an honor for me being here. It's been 2 years. I haven't been on that kind of stage in front of so many people. Nice. 2 difficult years. Everybody, we all know we've been from one crisis to another. We're talking about uncertainty, crisis, complexity, ambiguity. That's true. We keep on having unpredictable events. The task that in this short moment I'll try to cover, to obtain, is understand with you what this new trouble in the energetic world will leave us. We've been having financial crisis, political crisis, sanitary health crisis. We haven't understood much about them, but looking back, you can see what is left behind. From COVID, in my opinion, we got a huge speed on the world regarding the digital acceleration, something that became so natural for us. Regarding energy, this is something, it's a crisis we've never seen before, maybe in the 73, but not even then, in order to see such like high prices, but it's not much this. I'd like to understand what will leave us, what this crisis will leave us. It's a different paradigm that is not only about the cost and the budget, it's a different paradigm in the energetic world, because the safety, the environmental impact, something like energy is changing from now on with this crisis, with these prices, with these problems of getting the energy. Once talking about energy, we talked about a commodity. It's no longer like this. It's an essential good we need to talk about, and where we can have something to say, have something to do. Even people of TLC have the need of getting into this type of world, from having people, a department, talking about energetic management, because the complexity of that world allows us to save a little bit and have people that are really competent in that, up to the value chain of energy. With the digital world, everything is blended. Furniture clients, joint ventures, everything is... Now, the client is in the value chain of energy, meaning nowadays a client can create energy using some solar panels on the roof. Nowadays, putting solar panels is the best, is probably the best investment a family, a company can do. But that's not enough, because this has the complexity of understanding how can I get some more energy, how can I sell energy if I have too much of it. Let's get into the green tech world, a world that is an in-between the new production systems from renewable sources, the energetic markets, and the communication softwares that manage and telco that manage them. This is the new energetic world. And it's, again, not a commodity, but a necessary good that companies like Sorgenia, that I represent, but many more, act not to bring a commodity, but to bring solutions in cooperation with the final clients that are also the families living in the house, not only the companies. When we talk about your field, this is even more interesting somehow, because this idea of green tech I've been talking about, that just to say allows to reduce 3 times the price of the bill, not a little bit, but quite a lot, 3 times. I'll show you then some numbers quickly. As I said, this is in between the Internet of Things and the Internet of Energy. From a side, the need of energy of data center communication network is huge. Anything we check on the global scale, we see a trend that has been raised of like 30% every year up until 2030. And this gives us the importance of energy for those who work in the telco world. But that's also the client world of the IT and telco sector, because the communication network, the Internet of Energy, the green tech I was telling you before, or the smart grid, you might have heard this word. They are taking away a revenue from your sector that is getting bigger and bigger. It's tripled from now up to 2030. And this is not an added revenue, but clearly also the possibility to identify new partnership, new way of cooperating. When a house is interconnected between a panel, a battery, a car recharge column, obviously the communication behind these systems in order to optimize the consumes, this becomes really, really important. I do believe this is it's a good reason to check. I'm not just checking together a blending between energy and telco, but a sort of cooperation, a very tight cooperation. Some friends in here know it already. Between our sectors. Sorgenia was born 7 years ago with the idea of digital energy company. We focus almost exclusively first on digitalization of the company and then of the energy. Nowadays, this gives us a visual of this evolution and brings us through the idea of a green tech energy company. I've got some slides, but we don't really have time to check it. It's at your disposal. You can look at it and see. You can see some data. I would skip them in order to show you something that gets back to some of the concepts I told you. The higher revenue, the higher demand of energy, the tripled costs I told you before, and the Internet of Energy, almost there. What I wanted to show you. Here it is. Today, the energy, for those of you who buy it on the market, costs like 520. Self-producing energy, with or without Sorgenia or a partner that helps this, can lower the price to 220. Self-producing it with the photovoltaic would be cut in three the price. Last thought, I'm suggesting it to you, I do believe some of you already know it, is that today, in order to self-produce energy for a company that has a data center, that has some buildings, we can create it with photovoltaic panels. And this can allow this investment and satisfy the consumption with the panels during the day and buying during the night, for example. Solution 1. So direct investment from the telco company. Second solution, maybe you might know it a little bit less, but it's getting more and more common, having power purchase agreement. So long-term contracts, 10, 15 years, where the telco doesn't have to invest anything. The green tech like Sorgenia will do it. And this allows still, from the very beginning, to reduce by a third the price of the cost and stabilize it for 15 years. Banks are also getting activated into this type of solutions. The world is obviously moving toward this direction, and I do believe that those who can need to check this out, because the competition in the market will get also based on the cost of the energy and on the green energy. Thank you. Great, thank you. Mancini, a question. This cost 150 euros for megawatt hour, also considering this type of dyes? With batteries? Yes, clearly. Yes, well, also in Milan, we have 1,500 hours of production. The technologies are getting much better and the prices are getting lower. I've installed the panels in 2008, looking at how the panels have been more and more efficient, so obviously we can imagine what will happen in the next future. Also, thank you for giving us this good news. Thank you. Have a good day. Marco Arioli, Federico Protto, Sherif, Rizkalla, Giovanni Zorzoni are the first guests, and then with us we have Massimiliano, Capitanio, Giovanni Procaccini connected online they are connected from Rome and Brussels. Let me ask them later. Well, welcome. Hello, please have a seat in these nice white sofas. Massimiliano Capitano from AGCOM, from Rome? Yes, correct. Where it's sunny, isn't it? Because in Milan it's not guaranteeing the sun today. I left from Milan today, I saw it. I noticed the difference. Nicola Procaccini from Bruxelles. Hello, everybody. No, I'm also still in Rome for a couple of hours. I got my flight to Bruxelles in a few hours. Procaccini is responsible for energy for Fratelli d'Italia, your deputate. We'll get to you soon. But let's start from Marco Arioli, Chief Officer of... Let's start from the last topic that Mancini said, saying there is a new perspective that is fairly new, well, not exactly new, but let's say that the perspective is now getting bigger and bigger on the necessity that companies, that we might also talk about how the impact it has on your companies, having competencies non-related to telco world. Yes, first of all, thank you for the invitation, for being here. These are very important topics for us and are determining a new way of giving this type of services in our industry. In the last few years, as we heard, many different things changed, but also our life has changed. So when we talk about telco, we are no longer talking about the services we were talking about 3 or 4 years ago, because nowadays, if we look at the numbers of offices we have in our nation, we don't have 5 million, we have 25 million, because all our houses became offices. So the type of services we need to provide has changed in its own nature. Is no longer, as a request of our clients, is no longer the one we were used to 3 years ago. This means that we are in a market where we have a need to be connected, not also for our clients, but also for whatever it's necessary for smart working. We were talking about a raise in the request of energetic requests of 30%. That's true. This is what we see in the telco net. They raised 30%. But in the last 2 years, where we had a huge jump, where we had a very big gap. So we need more and more bandwidth. We need to provide the materials due to the chipset shortage that is still, some people say no, is over, we solved it. No, we haven't. But I wanted to get to the point, talking about competences, the necessity for companies like yours, but I imagine also others, having people that talk about the purchase of energy. Yes. What we need to keep in mind in the development of a telco is no longer a focus on what is the technology of our field, but also how energy represents a fundamental point. If we look at up until before the crisis, the prices were around 50 euros for the megawatt per hour. We are now 300 or 400 euros per hour. So now, what are the sourcing for the energy in a telco? This is something that requires competences that at the moment in the telcos are not so structured. It's rather more close to the financial world, especially because the products given are way more complex, way more articulated compared to a few years ago. The power purchase agreement, this is an instrument, this is a tool, but there are many more that in order to be evaluated require specific competences. Now, if we have overall the problem with the competences, let's not even imagine in this type of world. Sherif Rizkalla, CEO of Stack EMEA Italy. Welcome, thank you for being here. Price of energy for those who have big data center, that's a huge problem. Yes, thank you, Enrico. Yes, because in this moment, the development of the data center in Italy is a huge opportunity. I'd say we have 4 main points that are influencing the development of this field in the last 2 years. All over the world and also in Italy, we are moving toward the digitalization. More and more companies are getting to the cloud, are moving to the digital world. The last number we saw last year was more or less the 18% of the companies moving toward this direction. Moreover, with the pandemic, these trends got even faster because with the lockdown, companies and people, schools, hospitals, we all had to stay home, and this speed up the use of cloud. And then the democratization of the cloud. So these resources that were first focused on the Northern Europe, now we have some regions of the clouds that are opening also in the southern part of Europe in order to be closer to our final customers, our schools, our companies, those who game. And this trend also helped the development. And then also, we know that Italy is a third economy in Europe, but it's not the third company for the data center. Maybe it's the sixth, the seventh. So we have a gap that asks for a rebalancing for this request and this project in the last 2 years. The percentage of growth we foreseen in the cloud and data center in Italy, especially in the next 2 years, is like 300%. So, yes, tripled in the next 2 years, despite Italy. Now, throughout the world, we have these raised prices, but we know that Italy has higher prices for the energy. This is a huge opportunity for all those reasons. Democratization of the cloud and all of these. It's an opportunity, but this opportunity has some risks. Risks connected to competences, crisis. So these investments, these future investments, multinationals, companies investing in the clouds before had a scenery that, 1 year ago we were paying 15 cents per kilowatt hour for the energy, and now we have 48, 50 cents for the same thing. This type of risk might make us think we need to rebalance it again and mitigate it again and avoid that these prices will damage the growth path of Italy. Federico Protto, CEO of Retelit, welcome. If you want to talk about the energy market, this is truly interesting, but I'd like to have an overview on the market for the next few months. Lots of things has been said, but we must say that the provision models of the last few years have been failed getting exactly on the correct foreseen on the provision. What's your perspective? Well, thank you, Enrico. Hello, everybody. Just quickly on the energy theme, because it's still relevant on the second part of your question, which is, before you were talking about positive messages, not knowing if it was Mancini or not. Besides this, from our perspective, the raise of the cost of energy is clearly a topic, a theme. But, talking about this before, the investment in professionality that before was not exactly, energy was a commodity, now is helping us overcoming this theme. DCT in Italy, 2021, invested more or less 230 million euros. That is a lot. Not in energy, clearly, because it will be even more, but in programs of efficiency, resourcing, and competences. So we are giving some provisions for the next few years, at least regarding the impact of energy that overall make us feel fairly serene, because the context we see in Italy, we talk about the Italian market and also the B2B, so our companies, it's growing a lot. Sometimes we complain, lots of things happen, but the overall world of small and medium companies, besides being really rich, is growing, and pointless for me to say, but adopting digital energies is now determined for this. So what we want to do is having this growth that is keep on going. Obviously, we need to pay attention. There is still a process going on for those who offer the energy, but we see a market that is truly growing with only one difficulty, and I say it, unfortunately, being behind this growth. So the chronic lack, the chronic difficulty of having resources, competences that are adequate to satisfy the demand. This is for us the only limit to this development. This is a topic that is overall, but it's also something regarding the politics, because formation starting from the schools and from the university is something important, because 10 years after, 5 years after, the resources that were not formed are the ones that we lack in satisfying the offer. This is something that makes me ache, makes my heart ache. This is the biggest limit we have at the moment, because it's a market that keeps adopting more and more our technologies. Mancini was saying before, the energy world is one of those that need digitalization, and we are the subject helping these players adopting it. Yes, competences are truly important, and from Federico Protto words, we can understand that it's even worse than the energetic crisis itself. Yes, because the times to form people are not fast. Before getting to Giovanni Zorzoni, president of AIIP, so institutionally representing lots of the companies being here today, I'd like to have Nicola Procaccini, Eurodeputate for Fratelli d'Italia, as this morning one of the themes is the impact of energy in this field, something that was not considered up until a few months ago. What kind of perspective from Brussels, what kind of perspective we have in front of us, considering the cost of energy for the overall world, and especially in the telco world. Yes. First of all, let me say hello to everybody and thank Alessandro Talotta for the invite. It's nice being here, even though not exactly there with you. Unfortunately, we realized how important is curing the energetic providing suddenly. So we weren't expecting that. And this is a mistake, a huge mistake. Something that not only Italy did, but that's truly what happened. Energy is the blood of our development, and taking care of it, as we realized 8 months ago, before, even a little bit before the starting of the war in Ukraine, this is clearly a huge mistake that leaves us with speechless, because we need to take account into the materials we need for the energetic transition, and then understanding the energetic production and the energetic safety that is a request for the political view. We could talk about it a lot. Let me leave with this very broad idea. Nowadays, we are trying to face this need. We are struggling. We are finding common solutions, and we are trying to make people understand how important it is to have a fixed price for all the energetic providers. And so we need to equalize and divide the price of the gas from the other energies. There are some nations that have some different goals. For example, the Netherlands, where there is a TTF, where we have the price defined, so there is a conveniency having a maximum amount. Germany has the ability to acquire gas that, in front of this type of crisis, doesn't fix any limit for the resources. But the thing is, there are some difficulties that are well known. And these difficulties are bringing the European community to get solutions that might work for some, like reduction of the consumption, but can save us up to a certain point. Regarding telecommunications are not considered an energetic that consume lots of energy, but obviously we know how much energy this field uses and how it's impossible to reduce the amount of energy given, because through communication we have our safety overall, not only the possibility of downloading a film or chatting with people. It's something too important considering the safety of the nation. Also for the European Union to think, oh, okay, let's have less showers and let's reduce the energetic consumption to everybody. I believe something else should be done. The production should be augmented. and in particular, especially the one from renewable sources, but also not forgetting that it won't be today nor the day after today that we'll have energy exclusively produced by renewable sources. At the moment, we still need to have fossil fuels. Sorgenia, that I do appreciate, is a society that on the renewable energies built a huge market, not only for Italy but also for the market, still need gas because it's can be performative without dispersing CO2 as much as other I know, I need to close. So we need more infrastructures, and these infrastructures have a cost. Unfortunately, we have a problem of permitting. It's the same problem we had with the telephone antennae regarding telco. I was mayor and I remember people against 3G or 4G and now the 5G. So we need to consider the infrastructure that are exactly the one similar to telco, because otherwise we can't get to our goals. We need time to win this battle, but Icrodus X Alta, so we'll do it. Thank you, Procaccini. Massimiliano Capitano from AGCOM. He is not, doesn't work with energy, like you in this moment. Talking about this field, I would like to understand from you, Capitanio, what are the other problems? We can't see him at the moment. Can we hear him? Can we see him? What are the main problems from AGCOM in this sector? Well, hello everybody, thank you for inviting me. Hello also from AGCOM. It's true that AGCOM doesn't have a direct competence as we work on the regulatory system, but the theme is also dear to us and we are observing it in the recent report that we released in November. If we want to get on the quantification of the energetic consumption, we got a photography that is fairly eloquent. In Italy, we have 107 million of SIM, 1.8 million more compared to 2021, 5% more of daily traffic. In June, we had 43.8 million of users. We have 18.6 million users that are growing. All this consumption of data is obviously repercussing on the costs. This is because AGCOM understands the situation we are facing, and as possible is trying to sustain the sector with the functions given by the state, with the regulation that gave us recently to trace the regulatory lines for the 5G and 1 giga for Italy, because when recently it has happened, the investment is facing the theme of the impact of the infrastructure, obviously AGCOM, in its criteria given from the different operators, needs to understand the different contexts that ask different requests. When there is a request of setting of the price, even of the retail, because of muted economical conditions, this economical context, are inside the AGCOM knowledge. So we study and we evaluate the market conditions. So what we can do as AGCOM, we try to analyze the situation and sustain the growth. Recently, our authority in Lombardy, in the 12th of November, got a Politecnico of Milano meeting in order to evaluate how fundamental it is the sustain for the development of 5G growth, because this technology is certified compared to the older one, brings economical saves to the energy. So obviously we have the ambition of contributing to the development of all those tools that make us save energy. This is something maybe not too recorded in the news, but we were partners in Israel for a new system of authorization to develop some rules shared not only in Europe but also globally, like in order to face the same direction. Obviously, the theme of paying attention to the technologies is fundamental for AGCOM as well, because the final point, the final interest of this authority is guaranteeing the final customers. So, in order to protect the final customers. Giovanni Zorzoni, thank you. Giovanni Zorzoni here here. How are we getting inside 2023? Talking about the market, talking about what AIIP sees as a perspective. Well, first of all, you don't know the satisfaction we have of Mix. As Mix, seeing how from a small Caldera 21, like kind of back room we got. So understanding what we can do when we get together. The association was the first one to focus on the connection of the data center and the systems that are more diffused. We have different points to prelevate the data, and these are realized and idealized, not given for granted that overall there is energy, but especially we launched an alarm to all the authority asking for a meeting, because as we said, also the Internet of Communication that are not sensitive, so let's say the Internet and VPN, private, have a huge impact the moment we have some regional blackouts on other nets that might use different nets. This winter is on risk. All our gas suppliers might give us what they've been giving us so far, included the little gas we get from the Friuli, and it was very fast covering from the Austrian company. But it's something is really at risk, because if this winter is too cold, it's too rigid, we might face some bigger problems. But here, it's going to be even more complicated for other reasons. Nothing lets us think that small amount of gas we have from Friuli keeps on going. In the last 20 years, we got some different energetic centrals. We don't have coal anymore, even though we still have some that work. So what do we ask from the institution? We ask them, well, first of all, we know that we were saying about the problems of this field. First of all, understanding the digital world, maintaining it. So I ask, instituting a plan in order to save all the pods regarding this sector. Before, we were talking about the Internet of Energy, very interesting for the AIIP operators that have also got passive nets and are independent from the team, and might in the future be very proactive to create on the locals, creating storage nets that are diffusers on the country. We already have the energetic community 2.0 that are not still working. But also, let me go further. We talk about the single net, but we have more than 60 different operators. We might want to talk about saving Telecom Italia, but I'd like to save the model Europe offered us. So, a sort of model that allows us a sort of competition that is on the structures, that allows us to get on different nets on the territory, that allow us to get also on the electric nets. We need to open the electric net to be stronger. If we want to run in the innovation also on the net, on the electric side, in order to be more independent, we need also to open the small, medium and small tension nets. If we want to allow to our country to get back and get more and more independent from some furnitures, we need to free energy also in the local side. And we are representing this here in order to ask this. So not only giving our nets in order to be used, but also building new ones, also for the cables and throughout. What does this mean? I'm sorry. It means we know fast. We have some regional nets. Majority of them were Enel, that is now Terra and so on. We need to do the same back. SIP, Telecom, became a monopoly. Then it was broken in order to allow local operator. We need to do the same with the energy. We need more operators also for the net. Maybe we'll get back to this. So far, thank you. But let me say goodbye, Massimiliano Capitanio and Nicola Procaccini, because Procaccini needs to get on a plane. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you for the time you dedicated to us for this event. Enjoy, have a safe flight. Then here, in the in this room, Rizkalla, you being so consuming so much energy, more than others probably, how are you reacting to the price raise? Do you have solar panels? Solar panels for a data center, for a hyperscale data center, is like a drop in the ocean. We need to find solutions for the crisis throughout, like 360 degrees. It's not a solution of one company. Even though we cover all the area with solar panels, that's not the solution. Moreover, all the solutions for the energy, for like renewable energy, are not so steady on the furniture. You said it before with the solar panel. We are still in an area that is, let's say, that has a return that is not so high. Having a return of 3 megawatt in reality, it's the 18% of this. How much do you consume? 10 times more. So at the moment, the ability to react to this is connected to what's going on in the market. Exactly. We need to think about a solution, middle long run, to get this type of supply. At the moment, we can't get to the future like this. We have a mixture of. We should talk about the nuclear world, but that type of development that should get Italy as a third country in Europe, we should really get back to that type of observation so that we can get there. In this morning, I'd like to get to the very close Proximus, like the very close future. So let's talk about next month. If we talk about nuclear, that can be so close, but the perspective is obviously interesting. Marco Arioli, regarding on the reaction regarding you in this market of the energy and the future perspective. We put panels wherever we could put them, but as we said, the quantity of energy that we can get from these compared to the need of a telco are partial. For us, this need is something a little bit more structural. So in the middle and long run, creating nets that can be more efficient in the consumption, being more in line with the energetic consumption for what the clients request, renew the machines that as an electronic consume less, but these are the strategies that need years to be implemented because the nets are used, they need to be used still, and so this process require time. At the moment, we are moving towards, with some partners, regarding the competences, things we were saying before. We do have, as telco, competences, but not as much as the moment is requiring. So we are being supported with what are the options that were already said. Power purchase agreement, interesting, but still needed a very long run, because in order to have, we need to sign for 10 years. But this is one of the solutions we see in the short run. Or also diversifying and having actions that are closer to the financial world. So buying energy and being supported on this. I like the attitude what Federico Protto said gives us a perspective that is truly interesting on the market, on the growth of the market, and the need that all the companies are getting to the telco in order to raise even more the services, the products, and getting smarter their products. In this idea, telco, do they have a role in order to have a national system that the companies can optimize the energetic consumption, saving energy? Obviously, yes. Yes, obviously. But let's see why. The telco are between the most, the ones that consume the most energy. We are not in that list from 2017, despite consuming the most gigabyte per hour. The first activity is, for us, producing is something, yes, okay, we like it, but it's not still the main one for our consumption. Using it is something else in our data center. So let me tell you, we have somehow studied the theme, not just us. And I found it interesting and surprising regarding the consumption of energy of the companies. Between the consumption of a data center and the devices, printers, mobiles, or iPads, there is 1 to 2. Our personal devices consume the double of the energy, both for the companies and the telco, compared to what is used in the data center. Why? 2 reasons. First of all, the optimization we do in the data centers, we pay attention to this, but not for what we do at home. These are what we are given. We don't really, we put them in charge, and that is it when they need. And also, these are not projected for this. So we are trying to understand how optimize. This is 66% of, in the end, the consumption of energy. Yeah, you can do it at home, but overall, this is something that has a weight. Regarding the helps, this is a technological theme. We implemented some systems that, especially in the Internet of Things, like 5G and such, optimize the consumption in real time of some activities, energetic activities, like public lights, for example. If I can somehow monitor the number of people passing by in certain areas of the city, like smart cities, but this is it, I can also manage the lights of the public light. I don't need 100% light at night. I can use it, but in order to do it, I need 2 things. 3. Sensors, data center, and a huge ability of calculating. This is an example of how we contribute to this theme. This is a very interesting point, and in that sector, there are some opportunities. Zorzoni, in a couple of minutes, can you understand what are the possibilities for this sector to get in the companies that consume the most energy? Well, We discussed about this more than once. I believe there are some delicate topics we need to face. We have some characteristics that are peculiar that need to be considered. Not only consuming energy, but also we need to add something more. As this is a delicate topic, I repeat, and we are also getting some feedback regarding this topic, I can't really get into this detail, but we can fix it as the country. What we can do, in my opinion, is removing in 3 years the consume variables of the domestic side. This is the simplest we can remove from the variable with self-production, self-consumption and storage. Removing that with the import, removing the Russian provider, this is a starter. But obviously this is a starter point. We need really to change much more. Then obviously we can also put our back to get the digital systems. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for joining in this event this morning. Have a nice day. Giovanni Zorzoni, Sherif Rizkalla, Federico Protto, Marco Arioli.